Kazim is not only an accomplished engineer and entrepreneur, but also a very strong researcher and has an excellent publication record. He started his career as a software engineer at Netas and later working at Airties and other tech companies. He spent a decade running his own blockchain consultancy company and on advising major companies. Since 2018, he has been one of the co-founders of ARF, a Swiss regulated global settlement banking platform. So could you tell me what ARF actually is? What's the main focus of the service?
Sure, of course. Thank you for the kind words. I'm nowhere close, obviously, but yeah. So ARF is a financial institution in Switzerland, and we are leveraging the power of blockchain in its essence. So the thing that we do is we provide liquidity. I mean, we provide credit, very short term, 1 to 5 days, to financial institution, and we are giving this funding to financial institution in order to provide liquidity for cross-border settlements. In essence, the way the world works is same-day settlements are an illusion. So there is no movement of money at the same day from US to Philippines. It doesn't happen. And this illusion is created by storing $4 trillion all around the world in banking, in the banking system, at bank accounts, and this money is used to do the last mile payouts. So all these cross-border companies, so Western Union's MoneyGrams, they are running global treasuries. The smaller platforms, they are having their own counterparties, and they are effectively storing funds, having pre-funding at their partners. So what ARF does is we have a risk assessment phase. We look at the risk, we underwrite the companies, and we provide liquidity. The interesting part is we are providing the liquidity in stablecoins. So because we are settling with the counterparties in stablecoins, the treasury requirements of these financial institutions reduced to 10%, maybe 5%, because we will be able to settle same day, and we are collecting the repayment in stablecoins too. Essentially, there is no way in the world that you will be able to lend USD overseas and collect funds at the same day. It takes at least 5 days. So yeah, this is what we do essentially.
Yeah. And obviously that relies on central bank digital currencies. Is it mainly central bank digital currencies that you would define as stable coins, or are there other stable coins around?
Sure. Essentially, we are working with USDC because the global settlements are done in USD, and currently the biggest two USD stable coins are Tether and USDC. We have so far meddled with USDC so far, but right now we are seeing a burst of stablecoin issuers. So we are looking and trying to assess which type of assets we will be able to work with.
And obviously, if you're dealing with, say, the Bank of England, then the Bank of England will make sure there is enough UK pounds to be able to pay back.
Yes.
What type of liquidity would you require from a stable coin for it to be accepted? Obviously, they can't have all of the funds covered. What sort of liquidity would you look for with that?
Yeah, excellent question. And one of the reasons that we picked USDC in the early days was USDC was providing attestation reports where a legal firm from New York essentially auditing their bank accounts and check whether there are enough T-bills plus liquidity plus dollars in their accounts. So obviously, this is one of the biggest reasons that we picked them. So we will be able to at least have a monthly clear visibility on the funding. And if you remember, there are many banking problems in US last year involving Silicon Valley Bank and the collapse of two very blockchain-related banks. So USDC hold firm in these crisis moments. So this is one of the biggest reasons, the attestation and the proof of reserves. Right now, with the regulation all around the world, with MiCA in EU and the expected stablecoin regulation in US, I believe the proof of reserves part or the collateralization part will be resolved once and for all. So it's going to be relatively easy for us to pick any assets. So we are going to say, we are going to check whether they are MiCA regulated or US regulated, and it's done for us.
Yeah. And do you use a permissioned ledger or a permissionless ledger? Is your ledger private or public?
No, 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 no. We are running all public, and this is one of the biggest strengths of what we do. As you may imagine, we are a very traditional business. We collect funds from our investors, from our liquidity providers, and we'll lend them and create yields and repay them. And the financial world is very much interested in transparency. So we are doing all these crediting information, all these crediting operations on public chains, and we will be able to show you that we did the crediting and we get repaid. We are not showing the interest part, obviously, but we are getting repaid, so there are no defaults. So using that public information, the strength of this transparency, we will be able to attract interest from more and more LPs. So the transparency and public blockchains are the essential part of it.
Yeah. And what's a typical delay between a payment dropping and a payment being made? Does the payee define the amount of time? It's almost like it needs to be cleared. If you remember
1 to 5
the old
days.
days of
One
one
to
to
five
five
days.
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that defined by the payee that it must sit for 5 days before it's paid?
It is definitely based on the working model of the financial institution. So if uh, so imagine that you are a Philippine worker working in US and you are putting cash in one of the cash institutions and expect to get the payment done in Philippines. The company receives this cash, but at the end of the day, this cash is collected with armored vehicles, probably, and it is transferred to bank. Bank counts them, digitize them, and then it is transferred to own accounts or converted in stable coins. So the financial institution, depending on the model, requires a couple days. So the repayment frequency is exactly those uh, days that is required for cash of the customer converted into stable coins.
Yeah. And obviously, the real power of this won't be just the payments that are made, but the programmability. So, is it possible for me to program in that if I get the goods delivered, then 50% of the money would actually be paid? Do you see that evolving? Do you see the programmability option? I mean, that requires a smart
Sure.
contract to be created and lots of touch points that would be required. But do you see that as the next stage of evolution?
Not even seeing it, we are effectively doing it. So let me elaborate. We are obviously we need funding in order to build this facility and lend corporations. We initially started with working with Web3 companies, foundations, etc. And it evolved, and we start dealing with an on-chain lending protocol. So imagine a set of smart contracts open to people, and you will be able to deposit funds. Obviously, it is for enterprises in the early days. So an enterprise goes into the life cycle via smart contract. Credit pools are created, and ARF interfaces with those credit pools and do daily operation. In order for us to receive funds from those pools, we have to publish data or create an NFT, you may say, about the nature of the receivable. So it is saying maturity. So in 3 days, I'm going to pay this back. This is the amount, blah, blah. So some details, some metadata attached to it. So the lending part is definitely happening on chain right now. And we recently merged with Huma. Huma is the Web3 interfacing on-chain lending protocol that is collecting the funds, and ARF is interfacing with Huma protocol, getting the facility and lending, and then paying yields back.
That's fantastic. And obviously there is some private information that needs to be stored on the blockchain. If this is public and there's proof, what sort of privacy aware methods are you using?
That's an excellent question. So far, we are very prudent and fearful. So we are not exposing any type of private data because we are two-facing or an institution that has very traditional financial parts and the Web3 parts. We are keeping the private information on the TradFi part. But as you explain all these technologies, homomorphic encryption, zero knowledge proofs, etc., essentially it is possible to, in evolution, move to a proof-based receivable where we add proofs of the private data into the receivable so it can be verified by third parties without exposing any type of data,
Yeah.
private data.
And obviously across the world there are different regulations. In the UK, I think we're getting a bit more relaxed, where I think in the EU it's maybe gone the other way. So it must be a really complex map of having to comply with lots of different regimes and regulations. And obviously you as a company will be audited and so on. I, I don't think you've got a simple answer for this, but how do you cope with that complexity of a 24/7 world? Because one time it was Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 trading,
Yeah,
not at the weekends and things like that. That was an easy world, but this is a 24/7 world that's always
yes.
on, always doing things. So how do you cope with that complexity?
Sure, sure. You are perfectly right. There are multiple regulations, there are multiple rules that we are interfacing because we are a global company. It is a lot of data should be digested by us, at least to operate in this space. That's for sure. We are operating from Switzerland, and Switzerland by itself is obviously having some advantages. You will be able to pay taxes in Bitcoin. It's legal tender in Zug. So we
Right.
definitely have some regulatory advantages when it comes to Switzerland. But essentially, ARF is an institution that only deals with financial institutions. So any customer of ours have a risk department, have a CFO, have a financial department. So when we are presenting what we do to all regulators, we will be able to always say that we are interfacing with this customer. This is a financial institution regulated by this regulation, and the scope of things that this institution should the boundaries and how they should behave is very well defined. So when you are having this framework of operation, because all these institutions have their own boundaries and we have our own boundaries, it simplifies things. Because we are not doing payments, we are just providing treasuries. Again, it helps. And we are doing everything by our own pocket, the funding, the facilities, and we are lending them. So essentially, because we are not using customer funds, it obviously helps to overcome some of the limitations on the regulation side.
Yeah. So would you say that you tokenize transfers? So Bank A wants to transfer to Bank B $10 billion. You have a token rather than that happening over backs, which we and the Swift network, which we know is not secure.
Yeah, definitely. More or less, this is the structure. We hope we are doing $10 billion transactions between banks, but mainly we are doing non-bank financial institutions operating cross-border with the ticket sizes varies from 1 million to 7 million daily. So, and the tokenization part comes in with the receivable. So we will be able to show an on-chain construct, an NFT, you may say, which is the receivable, which shows when it's going to be paid, what's the tenor of it, etc. So the tokenization part is definitely linked with the receivable.
Yeah. And obviously digital signing is just one thing and that isn't a legal certainty. I think the EU is moving towards EIDAS 2, which should, and also EID, which should provide some, I may be wrong, I'm not a lawyer, legal certainty. I don't know how this works, but a lawyer will be
Nobody
able to say
knows.
that this is now legally certain. Would that be a great step forward to actually have a legally binding digital signature method? And will that move business in the EU forward?
This is an interesting question. This is an area that we are looking very closely. So, as you may imagine, because we are operating with financial institutions and not interfacing with the customers directly, we are only seeing an indirect picture. So we know how the market behaves and how people behave. And because of the behavior of the people, we are seeing some capital flows or credit requirements. So it translates like this. But there is a huge debate that individuals now receiving funds with their own wallets, obviously. They can still do it by themselves by sending Bitcoin or stablecoins, but there is also a tendency having a wallet of a financial institution, which they can also use to receive remittances, let's say. Obviously, the onboarding to these wallets, because they are regulated entities, involves KYC processes, signatures, etc., etc. And the user behavior is more or less turning into this. So they are onboarding to institutions that are very Web3 native, very crypto native, and they will be able to have entities on the blockchain now. They are linked with addresses now, and they are legally linked now because these financial institutions also have reporting requirements. So the the developments on this space is very exciting, and it is only increase companies like ours more and more because the more you digitize it until the critical mass that people use this and not convert to peer-to-peer until reaching to the critical mass, I believe it is going to be a very exciting journey. And all the developments, digital signatures, KYC processes, streamlining of them will be very exciting developments in this space.
It's good. And obviously one of the topics we cover within inside the workshops is post-quantum cryptography because most of blockchain is based on elliptic curve methods. It's been proven that through Shor's methods that elliptic curve could be broken. Do you see any sign of the finance industry starting to worry about this, starting to find where their crypto assets are, or do you think it's still a few years off?
This is a very interesting subject again, but this is mainly a financial discussion. So you are definitely more knowledgeable on this. But in my early days, when we are doing crypto consultancy, I built I built a fork of Bitcoin based on a lattice-based cryptography. So we
Wow.
are yeah it's just
Yeah.
proof of concept. So
Yeah.
not using SHA 256,
Mm.
but converting it into a quantum resistant hashes. So you can easily do that. The Bitcoin world or all the cryptocurrency project have many talented developers that will be able to do that. But when we do that, what are we going to do with the miners? I assume there's a huge economy already invested in miners. That is the only job of these ASICs, these miners are hashing SHA 256. So what are you going to do? And so this is converting to an economical discussion. So from my perspective, when we are talking about blockchains, um, um, any blockchain that does do proof of work, uh, obviously we are talking about Bitcoin, it is going to be a dual migration phase where these quantum resistant cryptography changes should be introduced and will be used in line with the miners. So essentially, if a solution is debated like this, I believe we will be able to get to the conclusion much more faster. On any type of non-proof of work-based blockchains, I believe it's going to be a pretty straightforward upgrade. But the blockchain world, the Bitcoin part will be a bit more tricky.
Yeah. My last question is what makes Zug so special? Why have they managed to create this amazing ecosystem of innovation and really move things forward? It is such an innovative area and they've attracted the best talent from around the world. What's so special about Zug?
Um, I believe I can say that flexibility. The reason that Zook is, and maybe it's debatable, maybe UAE is the new Zook, right? So there is an ongoing conversation about this. But the foundation, the Ethereum foundation setup in Zook changes everything. So if you accept an institution like this is a big step. So this is, I think, the innovative thing that Zook does. And once Ethereum Foundation is there, obviously the can of worms is opened. There are a lot of questions, regulatory requirements, etc. And they adapt themselves to that. And in this journey throughout Ethereum's life, I believe they did it very well. So they will be
Yeah.
able to attract. And if you have so for example, or accountants are pretty sufficient, pretty knowledgeable, and they will be able to move in blockchain explorers, etc., in order to track what we do. when we are trying to prove them, because the whole business is running on blockchain, right? So because the regulator picked that route, an opinion, all the institutions aligned themselves. The companies aligned themselves with that. Even the accountants are aligned themselves with that. So I think this is the power. So you have to be open to onboard them and be flexible to walk the journey with them, with these companies.
Yeah. So I think Zug is a role model for any city in the world and any country to create an infrastructure for innovation. It's not just a matter of paying companies to come. It's really a matter of providing the right environment for entrepreneurs and technology people to come and make it their home and to stay there. So it's been a real privilege to talk with you. I'd like to talk longer, and hopefully we can have a longer session that we could record and maybe feed out to the Trust4Futures
Happy to.
community. But thank you so much. It was really
Thanks
interesting.
for having me.
We'll speak soon. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, so I now hand over to Goncha. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing talk. Bill and Kazım, you have touched on very important topics: transparency, payment, timing, contract, and programmability, applications, regulations, and complexity in financial area. I sincerely thank you for these excellent talks, and I think our topic is closely related to these as well. It seems that we will be witnessing the transformation of multifaceted and highly impactful industries. So I would like to welcome Dr. Ibrahim Kuşçu, my friend, an outstanding thinker and entrepreneur who recently authored the book Digital Identity for Agentic AI, Design, Governance, and Applications. So, as far as I understand, you support the idea of transitioning from centralized superintelligence to distributed agentic AI. My question here is, how is the future of AI likely to unfold?
Thank you, Gonca Hocam. It's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I feel really privileged that I have this opportunity to talk to you about this very new and perhaps very early topic, because we have been working on digital identity, but working on digital identity for artificial intelligence is very, very new. So let me answer your question with a very simple answer. In the future, in the nature already, there is no intelligence but collective intelligence. And for the last 5 years or so, I have been trying to challenge the mainstream idea about how artificial intelligence will be evolving. Typically, everybody believes that AI is solving narrow problems called narrow AI, and then we will somehow reach to artificial general intelligence, which means any AI program will do, not any, but artificial intelligence will come to a stage which will do any task that a human can. And then we will move to superintelligence or singularity, where there will be probably no human, but just technology, or a mixture of human and technology. This approach has a lot of problems within itself. First of all, it's linear, and it's not going to be like from narrow to artificial general intelligence and superintelligence. As we can see, in the last 5 years, I've been saying that we will probably come to general intelligence, but not as a centralized system. For example, today's generative artificial intelligence seems to be like one very strong solution, which really responds to many needs, or especially in terms of language and knowledge, and helps all of us. But that central view is really problematic, because we will have a lot of problems that are again, very specific involves very specific tasks. And also there is a recent discussion about scaling of these central systems, of these large language models. Now, first of all, uh, about having this large language models uh, as moving towards artificial general intelligence, it looks very easily that it is impossible. It will not scale, it will not solve every problem. We already started to uh, customize large language models through RAG and other approaches to solve some narrow problems. And now, since last year, this agent model, agentic artificial intelligence came out. Now we can see that this is leading to a state where there will be more agents around than any general artificial intelligence solutions. So let me explain you a little bit better about how this will unfold into the future through a hypothesis, that a thought experiment, and a hypothesis that I developed uh, 5 years ago. It's called minimal island hypothesis. Imagine that in one island, there are only a couple living, their kid, one house, an intelligent house with all appliances, and there is only one tree, an apple tree. There is one plant, only a lavender plant, and there is one dog and a grasshopper. This is the all inhabitant of this island. And imagine that we have a communication, intelligent communication between all of these agents. Now, this communication is very likely to be some kind of either brain signals or signals coming out of the bodies of these plants and humans and objects. With IoT, we can see the evidence of this. With the developments in telecommunication technologies like 6G, we can see the evidence of this. And with brain and machine interfaces, in 2017, we were able to interact with the brain signals. Three people would communicate with each other through brain signals, and they can help the third person to play a video game without seeing each other, without talking to each other, only through the brain signals. So as scientists, the things that we are going to talk here seems to be a bit futuristic, but these are not Hollywood science fiction movies. Whatever we say,
seamless improvements, then we will just realize very different things in the near future, I guess.
Exactly, because the field is moving so fast, and also there are so many orchestrated supporting technologies helping artificial intelligence to develop more, such as CRISPR and telecom companies, IoT, edge computing, and brain and machine interfaces. So, as there are evidences in the science and also in applications, we can think about this island communicating to each other to solve some simple problems with their what I call smart embeds. So they can, for example, if the flower is not having a proper sunlight on the window, it will send a little message to someone, a human, and say, "Look, I don't have enough sunlight today. Can you move me to the left a little bit?" And then, if the grasshopper is eating more of the lavender leaves or the leaves of the apple, the tree will send a signal to the grasshopper, say, "Look, today it's enough. I can only bear this much. Please eat something else. Go away from me." If there is, for example, a change in the air, a dog will probably receive these signals much before any other inhabitant on the island, and send a signal to the household saying, "Look, there is a storm coming. Make a preparation. Take care of your, take the clothes, the washings inside, or close the windows properly." If there is an urgent situation, such as flood, everybody will try to collaborate with each other, try to survive this crisis, for example. But at sometimes you will see that there are competing goals. For example, grasshopper eating the plants much more than it should be. So there will be some competing goals as well. So now, in this thought experiment, we can see that there are evidences that this will be developed to the planet. There will be an agent for all objects, all people, all animals, all plants, all organic systems, and they will all interact with each other in the future. So instead of having this general and super intelligent, we will have segmented and small scale intelligent smart agents all around us. Probably there will be no need for humans then, because we don't know in this future what kind of uh, entity we will be. We will probably um, half artificial and half organic beings already.
Well, very comfortable way somehow, I guess. But anyway, when it is so connecting, it was just a simple island that you mentioned, but we are just facing with a huge population of the world and very interesting, industries and improving knowledge, blah blah. We can just share. So isn't that hard to combine these together?
Exactly. This is where one of the key points is how we are going to govern this system. At the moment, we have no idea. Nobody has any idea. Even the leaders in the OpenAI or Google, or nobody has an idea how AI will unfold. And therefore, they go to, for example, OpenAI, the leaders, the Meta, or they go to the Senate in the United States and they say, "Hey, please regulate us." This is very unusual for a profit-making company to say, because regulation and governance is so important. This is the only uh, technology that humankind has ever invented that is much stronger than anything that we know of. So therefore, the artificial identity becomes really key. If we know the artificial identity, if we can develop artificial identities for these agents, then we know who they are, what they can do, and how we can keep them responsible. So unlike human intelligence, because for human digital IDs, uh, we have on in the digital identities, we have an identity card, and that's stored in a digital identity. It is merely an information about who you are. And then if you prove your identity, maybe your picture as well, then you are allowed to do certain things. But in the agentic identity, we need to look at not only this kind of stored information, but also to the behavior, what this agent can do and will do, what kind of permissions this agent has. Can we trust this agent? So these kind of
Yeah.
issues become more important.
Yeah, who will give these permissions to these
Exactly.
agents? The problem is here, I guess, because they request regulation from the government, but even the government has no idea whatsoever ever to do. So it is a really complicated thing, isn't it?
It is very complicated. I wrote this book. So you mentioned this book. I wrote this book really just to trigger an early start, because we are planning to design some world that we have. Even as experts of artificial intelligence, we don't really know many of the ways that artificial intelligence will unfold into the future. And for digital identities, an issue like security is again the same. The general topic, security is part of the artificial identity, and all these topics are so significant. But as you said, the regulating agents are always, both by resource and also for budget and for other for knowledge, they are always, they always come slow and behind the technology. So if the technologists, the technology leaders doesn't know what they are going to build into the future, it is really very difficult to have the governments or regulating agencies to regulate.
A question come to my mind. What are the core capabilities of an AI agent? What would be the core capabilities of them?
Basically, let's talk about let's talk about an example. At the present situation, what we are doing is everyone is saying an agent is a software, a bot that does jobs for you. It is your worker. Uh, so what is the example? It can go to a shopping website and does a shopping for you and pays for it and comes back. At the moment, there are no infrastructure for secure payment for agents. But I know that MasterCard is developing one. And then, for example, but this also is not for human beings. It also applies to, for example, processes in the factories, right? If there is a machine, there will be an agent there which helps how this machine will operate. For example, we have already some simple solutions for identifying defects and non-defect, and then you can have an agent which will have which will communicate with autonomous vehicles, for example, in the traffic, and then autonomous vehicle has to trust this agent that the traffic lights are working properly. If this agent is managing in the smart city of the traffic lights for us, we have to know that this agent has the permission and functionality and trust to do the job that it's supposed to do. And each autonomous vehicle has to know this agent is doing the right thing. Otherwise, there will be a big
Yeah,
problem.
there is a huge need on these autonomous cars. We still will see more problems on it. Who is responsible for what? These are all certain questions on this. You say autonomy then, and maybe a goal orientation, and maybe the adaptability, because these kind of agents will be very adaptable to the issues, I guess.
Yes, I mean at the moment the simple agents can be developed without using any coding. So you give them a goal, and you give them a behavior, you define an action for it, and it will do the job for you. The adaptability is now Google and OpenAI has developed something called ADK, Agent Development Kit, and this is really a large resource to be able to create adaptive agents. So we will move into this when the context changes, the agent has to adopt to these changes. Now, of course, there are lots of issues. For example, a digital drift. We have to know that when the context changes and the agent behaves in a different way than it is permitted, still we have to keep its identity. Lots of challenges and questions raised by this artificial identity for the agents.
Yes, one question also, I think it is my last question. How would be the identity life cycle managed in AI agents? So it is an interesting thing because I was just start to think about it.
It's amazing, isn't it? Before I was preparing for this talk, I was saying, okay, when does the agent die? What happens? The digital agent will not die. But when the context changes, when the permission changes, it will probably be obsolete and will not be used. And who is the owner of the agent? Who is responsible? Is the agent responsible or the entity which developed that agent? lots of questions. So in the life cycle, we don't know at the moment. Of course, it will be, an agent to be created, and it has to have an identity like a digital wallet, which is like our ID, and then it will have to have roles and responsibilities and defined. And in time, this will all also will change because each of these agents, like in the minimal island hypothesis, they will be most of the time collaborating with other agents as well as they collaborate. The traffic light agent collaborates with the autonomous vehicles agent. So but sometimes they will be competing at the same time. So how are we going to manage these in the life cycle? How are we going to manage these collaboration and competing situations, given the possible behavior of an agent, is a very open question. And when an agent will die, where it will go? I mean, when are we going to end its operation? These are all really, really open questions. As I said, probably this book is one of the first book probably in this topic about artificial ID. I wrote it just to trigger and just kind of a proactive step to help professionals to start creating infrastructure first, and then to talk about governance. How are we going to govern and regulate the agentic AI?
It was a great talk. I think we are just on time, and I will just leave the stage to Irem and her guest. Thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim Kuşçu. You were great, and stage is yours, Irem.
Arthur Dietrich is a product designer and community builder who is passionate about Web3 technologies and especially decentralization. He studied European business at the University of Lincoln and finished his master's degrees in the area of business management, marketing, finance, and entrepreneurship. He is currently working as a European regional lead in Superteam Europe, Solana. And first of all, I would like to thank you again, Arthur. It was really nice to see you here. Then it was a really short notice case. And we can start with you. If you want, you can just please tell us about your background and expertise areas. Then we can just, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irem, for the nice intro. So my name is Arthur Dietrich. I'm in France. I'm based in France. I'm an entrepreneur. I created a lot of companies. So I have a background in sports. I was a high-level sportsman. I was doing the World Championship of BMX during 8 years, where I was professional. And then after I was doing it at the same time, I was going to EDEC Business School, that is international business school in France. Since right after I started to create a company, first one was not really related to tech, just didn't have much money and needed some money. So I created a company that was innovative in the packaging industry, working closely with China, with Vietnam, and with Portugal. And the company went quite big. We sold the company in 2019 after 5 years to one big industrial company. In 2017, so 2 years before, I bought shares of one company that was doing hardware that was probably like HDMI cable, power banks, when it started to grow, and it was not really a good company, not so profitable and not really innovative. So we changed the whole DNA of this company. The problem is that on these companies, most of the time, people are buying existing products in China. And so the value of a product reside in its scarcity and the added value that you have on the market. So we decided to create our own mold that allow us just to really highlight our knowledge and the quality of a product. And so the company went like this, and with funny story, we multiply by 20 like the profitability of the company in 2 years, and we sold it also to the same company that bought the first company. So a really fun story. And this is where actually it started my crypto journey, because I had some cash, and what happened is that I invested a lot in real estate. Right now, with my business partner, we have over 300 flats, we've got hotels and so on and so forth. But the beauty of real estate is that you still have a lot of time. And so I'm a curious person, and I was intrigued by crypto in general. I discovered a special talent is that I'm a really bad trader. So I'm focusing on I'm only focusing on the tech because
Hocam çok iyiydi ya. Ağzınıza sağlık.
It's good.
It just opened mic, I guess. We
Yeah, okay, no problem. No problem. So not a problem at all, Gonka. So what happened is that I focused on the tech, and I started my journey by really simple stuff such as NFTs and everything, just to understand. I went on a mission on Solana because I was not really technical back in the day, and I like the promise of the blockchain. That is to say, you have something that is safe, but at the same time, something that is very fast and cheap. Something that is really important is the scalability of one blockchain. And I believe that a blockchain should be quite fast and cheap in order for people like all the mainstream people that don't know anything about blockchain. So they can use blockchain without having the impression, the feeling of using blockchain. This is for me the future of blockchain. And so I went on different experience. I invested a lot of money in different projects, and little by little also the foundation Solana, because basically every yeah, we love Super Team. Yeah, we love Super Team
Yeah, we
too.
love it.
And so basically what happened is that at one point the Solana Foundation, so basically I like to say it, so the foundation is basically the engine of imagine Solana being the car, and the foundation is basically the engine. Contacted me and say, okay, we want to have more presence in France, and I know you've done a lot of things. Can you help us? And I accepted it. So I created Super Team France. So Super Team France is basically a Super Team in general. For people that don't know, it's I would say the wheels of the car. This is because generally the message is global from Solana accounts, and you've got some messages that are during the events. And the thing is, in order to highlight everything and make sure that the community knows more about Solana at a local level and help and increase the knowledge, you need a local entity. So basically, we are a local entity of Solana. It went quite well because in 6 months we grew the community a lot, and now I'm head of Europe. So I have France, UK, Germany, Poland, Balkans, Portugal, Ireland, and Canada for some reason. I don't know why, but it's
Okay.
yeah. Before talking about more the main topic about cryptography and security and so on and so forth, just so people understand about Super Team. Super Team is basically you've got 4 missions. The first mission is education. So pretty much what I'm doing right now. The idea is really to highlight and make sure that people understand what is Solana on a technical point of view, but also in general, because I don't see Solana as a crypto. I see Solana as a tech company that is putting its technology in the end of thousands and thousands of people in order to make some really innovative product. And so we're here just to teach people how to code, teach people what are the opportunities on Solana. The second point is my favorite is entrepreneurship. It's really helping those people to build amazing products on Solana and helping them with really cool workshops and so on and so forth, doing projects, doing partnerships, doing intro, helping them to raise funds with really nice VCs, and doing hackathon. The third one is community, because you might have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have anything to share your idea, it's worth nothing. So the idea is to have like a really sustainable and useful community that are here for everybody. And the fourth one is basically all the institutions. This is what we are doing. We are just pushing hard and hard on the institution in order to be implemented in banks, tokenized fund, creation of stable coins, and so on and so forth. So this is about my presentation, and this is about what is Super Team right now. And do you have maybe first, some people might have some questions from what I just said?
Yeah, actually, I was just gonna ask how Solana Super Team weaves the future of privacy, security, and next-gen cryptography. But you just said that the four part of the Solana team has a vision of the educate people, especially the future gens. So these four parts are focusing of the next-gen cryptography, as I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely the main objective is when people think about blockchains, names like Bitcoin, Ethereum often come up, but Solana has a different path to solve three core challenges: security, scalability, cryptographic innovation. This is Solana. So how can I say that? It's a battle-tested cryptography. So I'm gonna go, if I'm too technical, it's too technical. So Solana use something called ED25519. It's a modern elliptic curve signature scheme that basically allow to have a fast, secure, and trusted signature scheme. And it's for apps like Signal and WhatsApp. Every transaction is signed cryptographically and authenticity and integrity, obviously. There's a protection, obviously, for Sybil attacks. And you know, the technology, it's a proof of stake. So basically, as the validate, we do have like the proof of stake requiring validator to stake tokens, making it economically unviable to attack the network. This is the whole thing. For the other, we've got also all the part of for the audit and the transparency. It is blockchain, so everything is public, trustable, immutable. This is the beauty of. This is actually the beauty of blockchain. I'm just doing like a bit of things. Tell me if it's too complex. I'm happy to simplify it. You've got also like the proof of history. This Solana's unique innovation. It's the proof of history, POH, we call it. The problem is that in most blockchains, the nodes must constantly agree on the exact order of transaction. that's slow and that's quite inefficient. The solution is that Solana introduced not so long ago a cryptographic timestamping mechanism that act like a verifiable clock, I will say. Each event is hashed and chained to the previous one using a verifiable delay function. We call that VDF, basically. The result is that, and this is quite interesting, is like Solana can process over 65,000 transactions per second with blocks every 400 milliseconds. But that just, I mean, that's really the cryptography, like in terms of cryptography. I can go also for, should I talk about ZK, or are you always familiar with ZK?
It will be better, but we have just like 3 or 4 minutes. So if you can,
you know, like let's make it less technical and more Q&A. And the idea is quite simple. Is generally you've got a triptych where basically it's a pyramid of security, speed, and scalability. And this is really important that we want to have a blockchain that is usable for the most people. This is actually the real key that we want, because the focusing at the moment is the focusing right now is really to have more and more payment methods done in the real world using Solana. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we had just one question. What is Solana Foundation funding is for?
Yeah. So basically, when the founder of Solana, Raj and Anatoly, created Solana at one point, they were like, okay, so we are the technical guy, and we're gonna create a foundation. The foundation is basically really simple. Imagine the foundation as I'm continuing with the car. So this is the fuel. So the foundation has a lot of soul, and basically we are choosing project, we're helping project in order to help them financially to create some new innovations. So you've got sometimes some grants that are given to really innovative product that needs a bit of money. We are using it also for doing event in order to show that we've got people that will work together. And for example, Super Team are part of it. So in a way, when Super Team France didn't exist, basically I created a budget saying that Super Team France will be a great initiative. And then since then, we've got like few thousand people that are part of this community, and we see like the effect of Solana being developed quite fast, and this is quite cool. Funding is for them. Is there any place in the world or this funding is for them? I don't understand the is for them. Do you understand, Hiram?
No, actually, I cannot do. Maybe
I don't understand
you
the
can
question.
Okay, and we have just out of our time, so when you have further questions, you can just ask through your emails or if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to ask I'm going to really put it already there. Yeah, honestly, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it is a pleasure to us to have you here too, and thank you for accepting our invitation again.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Then one more thing is if you want to have I will be, I think, in Istanbul in the 26th of June. Don't hesitate. And I'm gonna also write my Telegram. So then we good. I thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much. You take care, and I take a picture.
You take care too. And I wish all of our participants efficient workshop today. And thank you too again.
Thank you, Eren. Thank you for the invitation. You take care.